Starting off at a young age, I was able to find something that I was good at and then make it into a business. So I was like, okay, what would it feel like to just be with myself and really get to know who I am now? People would ask me, like, how do you do all these things? And for me, it kind of, with these practices, it just naturally flows. It's pretty easy. Every morning I sit down with intentionality and I listen, I tune into my body. What if I was able to kind of help other people figure out what that practice is for them? I wake up every day excited about life. Like I wake up every day and like the mystery and magic and excitement that I get to participate in a life that I've beautifully co-created, it's incredible. What do I do?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm a curator of beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that on your socials. I thought that was really beautiful because it was a really cool way to frame, the photography, maybe that was made a little more sense. Like, oh, you curate that, but I love that you also associate that with your wellness work.
As I look back over my entire adult life, I've identified my life's purpose as a curator of beauty because I started my first company at age 17, and it was an auto detailing business. And I look at the similarities between all the ways that I've been in service to this world. And starting off at a young age, I was able to find something that I was good at and then make it into a business. And it was just like a natural progression to always kind of be in that space. And so for me, throughout my life, it's just been different iterations of that expression. Right, so from cleaning cars and making them beautiful, that naturally, it didn't naturally, but it flowed into photography. I found out I was good at photography, so of course I make a business out of it. From that space, I took a few years to pivot and kind of get recentered. It felt like it was time for me to start a new project. It was like there had been like a completion in the photography space, and so kind of just holding that vision, like I like to call it my dharma, like my life's purpose. Holding that vision, like, okay, what is the next expression? How do I want to show up in this world? How do I want to be in service? And I took 3 years off of work, and I went into my soft girl era. For all these years, age 17 to 40 something, I was in hustle mode and creation and really, in an entrepreneurial mindset. And I kind of swung the opposite direction for a few years. I was like, okay, what would it feel like to just be with myself and really get to know who I am now? And so during that time period, I took my kids out of school. We moved to Mexico for 3 months. Whoa. We kind of traveled around, and the next expression was in the wellness space. And so because it had been such an integral part of most of my life, I wanted to find a way to be able to offer that in like not an esoteric way, but like that was actually rooted in how we function in society, and how to actually incorporate those spiritual principles and practices that I had really studied over the last 3 years and bring that into the material world. Like, how do we blend body, business, and belonging, into right now, really not just in theory. So that's kind of how I've gotten here.
No, that's beautiful. I think there's a lot of exciting things about, what we're about to hear with your view on health and wellness, because you've your whole life been an entrepreneur, right? Been an entrepreneur, and like you said, I get how they're adjacent. They are about like beauty and overall kind of like the power beauty can bring someone like internally by providing those things, even like a cleanly car, or I imagine with photography, either a space and themselves of like how to view themselves, maybe the way they can observe that and the powers that can come from it. So I think it's going to be really cool as people hear your take on like wellness and health. But I'm going to kind of like, I want to tease it a bit. I want to give them a little more context. So I'd love to hear like, let's start with your photography journey. And it sounds like, you entered it, got you what you needed out of it, and kind of saw it to completion that you can kind of put that down and like step away.
Yes.
I bet a lot of people will relate to like kind of any part of that journey. And then maybe be excited like, oh, well, there's more than even I'm thinking of like currently. So can we hear like travel back to the past, like how did you start in photography? What did that look like? And up to the point where you're like, okay, like shit, I got what I needed out of this. It's like ready to put it down.
Yeah, how I started photography was actually an interesting story. So I had taken a break from working to have children. And so my second pregnancy was difficult. I was on bed rest the entire time. And during that time frame, I was in bed, I was so bored. So I decided to start learning photography. It was just like, well, I'm gonna have another baby. Like, I would love to take pictures of this new little one that I had. So I got a camera and would set up my like ginger ale cans and saltine crackers beside the bed. And I just read one book, and immediately it clicked. It was like, I understood the concept of photography, composition, connection, and light was just a natural thing to me. So as soon as I had my daughter, I started photographing her, and it was like, oh, Spirit was like, you're doing this. Like, I was instantly good at it. And so being that I like the business acumen, like I'm an equal parts creative and entrepreneur. Like I love the creation process and the art of it, but then the business side and like the strategy, like the blending of those two worlds. So it was just natural for me to make it into a business. The first iteration of the photography for me was kids and families. And it wasn't just like, okay, let's go to take like pictures in front of your house or, it was like extravagant. So, it was full set design for just individual families. We rented the Brooklyn Bridge and the zoo, and we would just create like incredible whimsical stories. And so for me, what that was an opportunity to like go back in time and some things that I didn't have in my childhood, be able to like recreate that. Like I would interview the children of the families, and I would have them tell me about their dreams, like literal, like what do you dream about? What do you want to be when you grow up? And then I would take all of that, like the crazy, whimsical ideas of children, and then bring it into life. And it was so magical and so fun. And from that place, I was able to speak internationally. I was able to teach photography, conferences, and I was like really loving like the business side. I had a whole digital footprint of courses and presets, which are like Instagram filters for professional photographers, essentially. And that was incredible. And then that flowed into hotels and resorts. And this was like another exciting venture where I could enter into a space and I could help potential guests imagine themselves, whether that be on vacation or like hanging out with their friends, in like a fun space or a romantic getaway. And again, it was this storytelling element that was like imagining into all the incredible things that your life could be.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love your connection with, I'm a similar archetype, right? I grew up in tech, but I went to film school. So like, there's this kind of like Renaissance person brain that's like mirroring arts and sciences all the time. And it's cool that, with yours, story seems like such like a core anchoring part that talks to both. Like story is like your marketing strategy and fucking all of that. But then it's also like, that's where a lot of the magic creation comes from with like the kids, and even getting them to storytell and getting them to author, like what do you want? What is your dream jobs? What is your whatever? Now we can start transitioning. How did we go from all of this into making the decision? You stepped away from work for 3 years and going into wellness, but can we hear about kind of the end of like, okay, this is the time to put it down, or at least, like temper it down into the break, into the wellness? Can we hear a bit more about that?
My journey in like the wellness space has been an integral part of most of my adult life. I wasn't taught it necessarily, but it was something that was naturally residing within me. I was looking for community here in Utah. Like I was looking for like my local community, for places where I could participate in all of those pieces that really made me feel whole. I've been a single mom for most of my mothering career and an entrepreneur and, playing all these different roles. And the way that it just naturally came to me, like in order for me to be able to feel nourished and fed, was to take care of my mind, body, and soul. right? And so I'm naturally drawn to creating practices or ceremonies in my life. And so once, people would ask me, like, how do you do all these things? And for me, it kind of, with these practices, it just naturally flows. It's pretty easy for me. I'm just like, okay, well, every morning I sit down with intentionality and I listen, I tune into my body and I tune into how can I be best in service today? And that informs all my decisions that I make throughout the day. Through a practice of like time blocking, meditation, body wellness, my life is like, I'm managing way more than I'm seeing a lot of other people. I'm going, oh my gosh, like for me, it feels very intuitive, right? But what if I was able to kind of help other people figure out what that practice is for them? And recognizing that not just our bodies are systems, but our whole lives are systems. Everything is interdependent on each other. So if we look at modern medicine right now, we've got Western medicine, we've got kind of all these like compartmental pieces where we're treating symptoms, and we can see that that's not really working. And so there's been this shift into more of like a holistic or like a whole body, right? Where we recognize that our bodies were designed to work together. This thing feeds into that thing, and then that's where like the synergy of that creation and wellness comes from. And if we take our body as an example, we look at our lives. So we've got our work life, and we've got our kids, and we've got our social life, and all of these pieces it's the same thing. It's the same blueprint. The idea of aura kind of came into me about a year ago. I really sat with it for 6 months and just was with what is the energy that wants to be right now? What am I being called to be in service to? And I know this probably sounds wild, but it feels like God is my boss. I feel like I'm here, like this is my life's work, and all of the moments leading up to this have led me here. I've had a lot of loss and trauma in my life, and that has really been like the strength piece that has built this foundation for me to kind of launch into this next phase.
I love what you talk about, not just like holistic health, but also like people don't really associate that with like maybe their career and who they are. That's something that I noticed too, because as someone that also juggles a lot, it feels like, if I listed it out, it's like you and I, we have like 20 different jobs, where most people like just focus on the one thing. Yeah. But I think the way that we pull it off is that it all comes from like the same like source or like mission. And then these are just like a bunch of different tools, the same way like, like a construction worker grabs a hammer, then they need it. Like these are just tools to progress like what the main anchoring thing is, which is like what you're talking about, like kind of service, right? Yeah. Whether it's like service to your family or whatever it is. Yeah. And I love this idea too. I talk about often like how my roles do talk to each other, right? Like what makes me a good dad also makes me a good like producer. Like, it's just like checking in and like a mindfulness thing. It's things I like bring into my romantic relationship too, and how I lead my team. So I think that's going to be like a really profound revelation for a lot of people that haven't heard this kind of framework before. I'd love to like keep digging on this, if you can put yourself back in the shoes of like maybe either whether it was intuitive and maybe you didn't have like an aha like revelation moment, but if we can kind of speak to like, someone that might really need what you're talking about right now, what are some things that you think, what are some of the pain points you think they have right now? Like they're experiencing like, oh, like I'm feeling overwhelmed in these areas, or like, no way I can lead a company and take care of my body, right? Like, can you kind of call out, like, what are some of the people that need this the most?
I think for me, because I often think about, I've got friends that are solopreneurs, and when you're a solopreneur, you're wearing 17 hats, not only in business, but in your life. And how do you generate enough energy to be able to do all the things? And so what I find is that when we are coming from a place of alignment, that it actually is all the same mission. It's all the same thing. That when we are truly doing what we're supposed to be doing, when we found something that we're really passionate about, that like fuels us and that lights us up, our ability to manage all the things, it's all flowing in the same direction. Individuals that are they go to work and they feel like it's separate from their home life responsibilities, separate from their relationship. The energy that is required to keep those things compartmentalized, you've got like, I'm a different person here and I'm a different person there and I'm a different person here. Like that is energy sucking. So when we can come together and recognize that the way we architect our lives is that we are holding this vision with an open palm. We've got this vision for our lives. And every day I ask myself, like, are these decisions that I'm making, is this thing moving me towards this life that I'm creating? And what happens is social like obligations or things that your children want to get into, like I'm always asking myself that question, is this feeding into the life vision that I have for myself and my family? And so when the answer is always yes, and it's always feeding into that, there is like abundant energy. It just continues to flow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like I don't know the tool, but the construction tool that shows you if it's a line has like the little bubble in the middle. Yeah, a leveler. Like clearly you have that, like internally, like energetically and spiritually. We'll wait for them to pass before you respond. But I'd like to talk about, like, how did you discover that you had that? Or like, did you have a moment to where you're like, fuck, like I'm not doing this. I'm not like doing this leveling thing, like. When did you learn to like tune that and do this alignment practice? Yeah,
so through the photography piece with the hotels and resorts, as you know, the production side can be pretty grueling. It's 16 hours a day on set, and we would do 10-day shoots. I would come back for 2 days and then unpack and then repack and then do it all over again. And I found myself in a place of like absolute exhaustion. And that was the point where I go, okay, I know how to do this. What am I doing? Where my compass had gone off was that material success and money had become the focus. And so when I recognized that my compass, I was out of alignment in that way, and I came back to my knowing that when I'm in actual service to my mission, then the money, the material things, the success naturally flows to you. It just does. And I've got historical proof of that. And we have to check ourselves, and that's why I have my morning practice that I sit every morning. And like I've identified what the main thing is, and I think I don't know who it was, Stephen Covey maybe. You keep the main thing, right? We just keep the priority, and all my decisions are birthed from that place.
Yeah, zooming out, now that you've done that work, like how does it feel? Like what are some of the noticeable, like, oh, holy shit, like I can't believe.
Well, I wake up every day excited about life. Like I wake up every day and like the mystery and magic and excitement that I get to participate in a life that I've beautifully co-created, it's incredible. I wake up every day and I'm like, this is so great. As I mentioned, the last handful of years, I was traveling a ton for hotels and resorts. I've lived in Utah for 8 years. However, I had not experienced anything outside of the airport or my house in Park City. So when I decided to bring Aura to life, I recognized I needed to see what was the pulse in Utah, what was happening in Salt Lake City. And I started to putz around down here. I first started going to some investor events to meet people, and was brought here by another member. When I arrived here, the energy and pulse here was like, okay, I feel like I might have found some people, because what I'm looking for in my life are two things. Can we play in harmony? So when I meet another individual, is there an alignment in values or energy? And I'm always looking for that. And the second piece is, are they visionary? And I came to Edison House and attended a few events, and it was like, oh, okay, here they are, right? And so the intention was to really feel into the fabric of what was happening in Salt Lake City. And so landing here and attending some events, I was able to make some connections, which created this web. So I would make some connections at an event, and then I would get invited to another event, and that person, and the networking continued on and on. And what felt really good for me was that to actually have a lived experience with other humans that were in their passion, in alignment, and actually bringing things into this world that were their passions in a way that wasn't just staying in the visionary state or just talking about it, but they were actually being able to bring things here. And the co-creation and collaboration here has been so fun.
Yeah, it is the best. I think that's been my favorite part about events here. It's like, I mean, naturally you just bring a lot of people, like you said, that are kind of aligned.
Yeah.
Then you can align with them, but they're also just like wicked powerful people here, and not power in like, say money or whatever sense, but like you can tell it's people that know themselves, and it's been awesome just getting them all in a room.
Yeah.
Even like getting to talk to you now, I think it's the best.
How I see it is actually like Edison House is really like the third space. And so, historically we've had work, home life, and then maybe it was church, maybe it was like the VFW, or if we take it back even further, it was sitting around a fire. In today's society, we've lost that. Everything is so compartmentalized, and Edison House kind of rests as that third space where we have a place to kind of come and all of those areas melt together. And Aura, I actually feel, is such a beautiful complement to that. It almost rests as the fourth space. It's where all the excitement and energy and social aspect that occurs here at Edison House, it's a deeper integration on the spiritual level. So it's a sanctuary, it's a respite, it is a place where we can tune back into ourselves and be supported in whether that is human optimization, whether that is master classes or discussions or moon circles. The community overlap between Aura and Edison House feels like such a complement to each other.
I love how you identified. First, I've never heard of that concept of the third space before. I think that's really beautiful. I have a version of that. They call it like a third culture child. So
Yeah.
it's like, having culture from the East and the Philippines and then here, and it always kind of beckons this, like, there has to be this like third evolution of that thing, and it sounds like Aura is like that, like kind of going in deeper.
Yes.
And it makes sense. It's this conversation about alignment. It's like, how do you align all of these things, even in the social aspect?
Right.
And it seems like Aura is even this kind of higher like thoughts of that, like a higher elevation of that.
Yeah, so once a month we host a women's mastermind meeting here. Last month we actually hosted it here at the pool, which was incredible. And if you've ever want to come down and meet me and see what happens, we're here every month doing that. And the group has grown from 5 members to almost 30 in just 3 months. So we just come together, and the intention of the group is to create from our feminine energy. It is really a place where women, female entrepreneurs are able to check in with each other, understand that we create so differently than men do, and a lot of society is set up for, in the business world, for the structure of how the masculine kind of moves through that. And so it's a place for the feminine to kind of get together and to really harness our creativity and our power and our magic from that different place and be in support of each other. And so every month we meet. So, if you're in the area or want to connect with me more, please reach out. You can reach out on social media or connect with the Edison House, and we'd love to have